Welcome to another Soccer Down Here 1v1, and it's time to catch up with the newest members of the USL Championship. Hanging out with us is Sean Mann, co-owner of Detroit City FC. Le Rouge is now a part of SDH in the USL Championship. Sean, thanks for hanging out with us for a 1v1.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I guess the first question in getting into all of this is, what has the response been like since the announcement was made within, I guess, the soccer community there in Michigan, and then in the overall, once the announcement was made? What's the overall response been like since the announcement came to the fore?
Overwhelmingly positive response, from our fans, from the broader community, soccer community here in Detroit, our corporate partners. I think everyone's, extremely excited for us to, continue our growth that we've enjoyed over the years, take on new challenges and keep pressing ourselves and, to be, operating on a higher level. It's exciting times. And outside of the soccer Twitter universe and everything like that, in real life, I think people, everyone only heard positive things.
When it comes to the growth of the franchise to where it is now, I guess, how much thought in the calendar went into this idea of going into the USL Championship? How far back was this thought process started as that next stage of growth for the franchise?
Well, shoot, I mean, you go back to 2014, 2015, we were in talks with NASL about going to the second division, right? So, for us as an organization, it's always been a matter of finding the right partner and for it to be the right time. And I think everything kind of lined up, this fall where we saw an opportunity, to make that transition and a partner coming on board to help support that vision. So, it's worked out pretty well so far.
When you go back to day one, when all of this started, does it even surprise you when you look from now to back to that first day? Does it even surprise you what you've been able to do and what everyone's been able to do there with Detroit City?
I with all the degree of humility, no, because I think we have big grand visions. I have no, I could never imagine all the people who've been involved to date, or how we would have gotten here. But yeah, I think we, had a bit of arrogance that we were going to do something special. And it's been an amazing ride. We're coming up on our 10th anniversary. So there's already kind of, that kind of natural reflection going on. And it is, it's humbling, the amount of time, energy that everyone's put into this organization, whether on the inside or the community around it, to make it something that people care about. And that means a lot to folks. And we had a dream of being Detroit soccer team. And I think we, piece by piece, sustainably have been tackling that, from day one.
You ever had a day and a half to sit there and step to the side and enjoy the ride? Or has it just been pretty much trying to hang on to a comet's tail ever since you came on board 10 years ago?
No, my wife's given me, a lot of guff over the years that, I'm never satisfied, whether it's attendance or, revenue or whatever. I mean, on the field, there's absolutely no complaints these days with how the guys are doing. But I think that's what's always been driving us, is just taking on more and bigger challenges.
Our Jason Longshore here at SDH says, and he says it absolutely confidently, that Detroit City is one of the success stories when it comes to the growth of American soccer here in the country from a business perspective, because you think back 10 years ago to where you were and you've continued to grow. You've had the renovation of Keyworth and all the investment that was put into all of that and all of these different elements that have given you that growth, going from stage to stage to stage to stage to now. Do you consider yourself to be that success story when it comes to the growth of the sport from a franchise and a business perspective?
Yeah, I think we've created something pretty special, and I don't think there's any denying that. And I think in recognizing that, it's also recognizing that we're stewards of it, and that like we accept the responsibility of, what this is, and, preserving it and growing it in a way that makes sense. And so, yeah, I mean, again, looking back at 10 years, like we've made so many friends, along the way in the soccer world. And, frankly, it's not a hospitable place, lower division soccer. And a lot of those friends aren't in the business anymore of running soccer teams, right? They're just friends now. And we've seen a lot of clubs come and go over the years. And, it's a testament to, the people inside this organization, but in particular, the rabid support that, this club enjoys. And, we've created something worth caring about. And I say we, it really is those supporters, right? Like they're the ones, if they don't show up in the stands, like we don't have resources just to keep this going, like it's all driven by the folks that, live and breathe DCFC.
Was that the first lesson that you learned as a businessman when it came to this franchise, that, you have to be a good corporate steward in addition to being a good community steward?
I think in the beginning, we wanted to create something that, resonated with us, that I think tapped into the moment going on in Detroit at the time, with a lot of investment, a lot of positivity, a lot of small businesses that we kind of came out of that ecosystem. The recognition of us being kind of stewards of something bigger than us, I think really was during the whole COVID pandemic. And, there was certainly points where, we were down to our last payroll on a couple of occasions, and, we weren't going to let, this die, because we knew how much it meant to folks. And so that was what drove us, and drove us to make sure that like this is around for generations to come. This is something that, we if you're going to invest your time into it, like, we are too, and we want to make sure that, our kids, your kids, like generations to come, that DCFC is there.
What was it like staring into your bank account at that particular moment in time when you're looking at that last payroll? What was that moment like for you and the rest of the front office?
It wasn't as daunting as you would think. And I think that's because we've had a degree of arrogance that we'd always sorted out. And, we knew we'd figure something out. And so, I guess we didn't let it bog us down. Like quitting wasn't an option. We figured one way or another, we're going to make it work.
So with everything there now, as you're getting ready to get into the USL Championship, and obviously the season's going to start a lot sooner than we think, because yes, the calendar is there, but obviously it's going to be a sprint to get from where we are now, as we're talking in the leagues, in the conference semifinals before the 2022 season. It's going to happen before we know it. Now, I know somewhere in that office, outside of the camera that I'm looking at right now, there's a to-do list. It could be on your favorite device. It could be, on this where you pull out the stylus, you write something down, you file it away, you put the stylus back in. Could be on a magnetized board that's on your fridge, and you've got the dry erase marker. When you go down at 2:30 in the morning, you sit there and you write an idea. Then you go back after getting the glass of water, you head back to bed. Or it could be on something that's like 4 feet by 6 feet off to your right shoulder. Where is that to-do list right now? How big is it as you're getting into the USL Championship? And what do you think the next thing is that you can cross off?
So it's not just my to-do list. We've already gotten the whole staff into, breaking down what they got to do, what we all have to do, to be ready, to be, a competitive organization in USL Championship. And our goal everywhere we've been is to be not just competitive, but get to the point of being a tentpole organization, right? And so, coming out of COVID, whether we were in USL Championship or not, that was a standard that we were holding ourselves to. And so from a front office perspective to on-field perspective, that's the benchmark that we were looking at. So, we've been hiring up staff to be operating at that level, whether we made that transition or not. So, on the partnership side, we've got the right guys in place. One guy came over from MLS. On the ticketing side, we just brought in a guy who's had ticketing for Detroit Tigers for 15 years. So we're building out a few more bodies to help some folks who have a lot of expertise, but also most importantly, I think they understand us, DCFC, the culture, and to boost it. So everybody's got a bunch of things to do, but this isn't like we shot, guns going off and we got to figure this out over 4 or 5 months. We've been building to this, for quite a while.
When you mention the culture, I know that a lot of folks will sit there and they may read something and they'll sit there and see something and they may read an article and kind of get a surface notion of what the culture is for DCFC. For those that have never had the chance to experience DCFC either at Keyworth, where I know it's tough to get tickets, but otherwise, or whether you guys are touring in whatever league you've been in over the last decade, what is the culture of DCFC? Describe it for someone who's never had the chance to see it or be a part of it.
Yeah, I think it's driven by the folks in the stands. We are driven by, as an organization, by, I think in some ways, our limitations from the very beginning, right? So we were never going to have the pyrotechnics or the cheerleaders or anything like that, right? Like, we've always given out this sense of ownership to the supporters, and we've seen ourselves as the host of the party, not the life of the party. So we've really allowed the supporters over the years to develop a culture of their own, where they go buck wild and they set the tone, and and we've developed a relationship over the past decade that like it's mutually beneficial to both of us, right? They create the atmosphere and we create a special event for them, and it's not. Our half times are pretty lo-fi, but you're going to see, 90 minutes of supporters unhindered, unrestricted, just losing it, and singing, chanting, and whatnot. And that's one main grandstand. And I think what's unique is like they've from day one been positioned right at midfield, so they are front and center. Now, there's the family side, and there are probably more butts in the seats on the family side, but in our marketing is geared towards that fun, 20, 30 somethings, generally speaking, who are standing, singing, chanting the entire match. It's a unwavering kind of love for the club and commitment that, those folks demonstrate, and, really creates something special.
When it comes to the club, I know that you're looking for specific individuals that understand what DCFC means. And I'm not just talking about those folks that are on the field. I know that you're looking for special folks on the field and those in the front office. You mentioned the folks that are coming in that have ties to Detroit with their history. But I think it's safe to say that as you continue to grow, you're still looking for those folks to be a part of your family that understand what it means, and they can be those good stewards for both the message that you're trying to put out there and to the city and for the growth of the sport there in the area. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I think whether it's the guys on the pitch, guys and women on the pitch, I think we've, built a team of high character, quality folks who really embrace the support. That there are these folks who cook meals and care packages and whatnot, take care of them, and they don't take it for granted, and they embrace it. And that connection between the club, the front office players, and the supporters, it's especially on the player side, there's quite a bit of turnover year over year. To find guys that continually buy into that, that's very fortunate to have coaching staff that finds people that get it. I don't expect everybody who comes to a game for the first time to get up in the supporter section and chant and sing and set off smoke. I understand people still come to have a good time, right? But there's definitely, we did a fan survey right before COVID, and 83% of the survey respondents of 750 season ticket holders or single game ticket holders, 83% said that they had actively recruited a friend or family member to come to a game. So we are a word of mouth success story in many ways. We've never put a lot of money behind marketing. We've never really had a ticketing department to date. It really is people having a great time and bringing, like-minded folks to their first game. And it just kind of, it's a cycle that we've enjoyed for the last 10 years.
As the sport has grown, let's just use the DCFC decade as our prism here. As the game has grown here in the United States in the last decade, you guys have been front and center to what it could be. For someone who is looking to be that next DCFC in their own marketplace, and they understand what it can be and how we're at a very key point when it comes to soccer here in the United States, where the country is on the charge, hosting a World Cup coming up around the corner, U.S. national team having the successes that they are, all of the different divisions having their own successes in all of their markets with the growth. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be that next version of DCFC in their part of the United States to try to get and have the same kinds of successes that you guys have had?
I think the crucial element is just authenticity, and creating something that speaks to your community, that represents it, and is driven by it. And with that's the challenge of kind of constantly reinventing yourself. So for the last 10 years, people have been reaching out to me about DCFC and what did you do, and how do we replicate it. And I it's not to be dismissive. I just think that we were right place, right time, right city, and I think we captured a moment. And that being said, I think we've had to expand and rethink over the years as well. And so I just tell folks that your community better than anybody else, and if you're tied to that community, you have the connections and the people to lean on to be your ambassadors and help you get going, all the better. I mean, one of the things that we did our first year in NPSL is we couldn't get a title sponsor for our jerseys. Now, again, this is amateur, right? But so we approached our friends who own small businesses, and each one sponsored a different player. And, it was a well-curated list of businesses. It was all of the businesses that, I think were changing the narrative of downtown Detroit, owned by younger folks. Some were older and established businesses, but instantly lended our brand and our credibility, or their credibility to us, right from, and it really kind of, locked us in as the team that represented a new generation in Detroit, in a town where, the other teams have all been here for 80 to 120 years. We were something new. And, again, that speaks, I think, right moment, right time. I think everybody just has to find, they know their community and have to do something that taps into it.
And you've graduated from that to things like Metro Detroit Chevy dealers with Lyft and Stroh's being across the front of the kit. And you've also, had Henry Ford Health as secondary sponsors and things like that. So people have understood and they've caught on. And I think that also the stability that you guys have trumpeted over the last decade has given those sponsors that capability to sit there and say, okay, they're not going anywhere. They're not just one or two, or, they're not just hanging out. They're really serious. And to have those sponsors locked in there as a part of this march, I think has been key as well. Yeah.
Certainly. And I think this exciting thing is we're getting to the point where, we have corporate partners who recognize our reach, maybe not from a sheer numbers perspective, but our authentic and genuine reach in the community. And so they want to leverage what we're doing and amplify it. A really cool partnership we're doing right now is Ally, which has one of their main headquarters right here in downtown Detroit, Ally Financial Services. They are underwriting a soccer league at our indoor facility here for Detroit Public Schools kids. So for the first time in a generation, Detroit Public Schools is sponsoring soccer as an official sport. So we've got all the high schools and some of the middle schools fielding teams here at our facility this summer, and we got a corporate partner to underwrite it. So it's our community outreach that we want to do. We're able to leverage a partner to help make it a reality. And so, it's an exciting time for us to get to that level where we have these partners who appreciate what we're doing, want to amplify it. And I think with the transition to USL Championship, we're already having these conversations that's opening more doors to do more stuff like that.
Sean Mann, co-owner Detroit City FC, hanging out with us for another couple of minutes here for a Soccer Down Here 1v1, discussing DCFC and Le Rouge heading toward the USL Championship. And you mentioned the high school aspect of it and what we've seen from the men's side, but the women's side is also integral in this as well. And I wanted to get into that discussion with you, where the women are a part of this as well, and it's been in other divisions, and now it looks like USLW is going to be a step in that as well, possibly heading toward the Super League for the women's side.
Yeah, we need to make some more formal announcements along those lines. But yes, I could say that, one of the appeals to us was, the very real prospect of having a professional women's team. We launched our amateur college ball team technically 2 years ago, but last year, or this current year was our first real crack at it with COVID, and tremendous support from support from the community, our fans, the same kind of passion we have for the men's team over the last decade was shown for the women's team. And, for us, we felt if we're going to be a true club, we had to have the women's side, and, our organizational goal is to build towards parity between the men's and women's team. And that seemed like the most real kind of prospect avenue to do that was through USL and what they're offering on the Super League.
When it comes to growth and housing a club in a stadium, it started at Castech, and then it goes from Castech to Keyworth. And I know that obviously the way that the sport is growing, are there thoughts about making Keyworth larger? Or is it supply and demand where you sit there and it's like, okay, we know that we're basically 8,000 seats at Keyworth in the USL Championship. If we're selling out Keyworth and the tickets are, in high demand, we're okay. I mean, what does it look like where you're having places in Louisville building stadiums that are, 18, 20,000 folks, if you're looking at Lynn Family playing in baseball stadiums, those kinds of things. What about the housing aspect for any and all fans that want to come and see DCFC, not necessarily this season, but down the line? Are there any thoughts in that regard?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Keyworth, I invite you up. Keyworth's a very special place, and I think it's one of the signature soccer venues in America. That being said, it's a historic venue built in 1936. It has its limitations, and knock on wood, hopefully we do continue to grow, and capacity becomes an issue at Keyworth. And so, I think we'd have to think about a larger venue at that point. Keyworth has limitations geographically. It's bound by neighborhood, right? There are houses, feet from the terrace. So, we are going to reach, capacity there at some point if we keep building. So, a long-term permanent home for DCFC is something that, has to be on the table as we continue to grow.
But obviously, being at critical mass isn't a bad problem to have, considering the successes that you've had over the last decade. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a very special place. It's a very memorable location, and I think it's going to be a fun, visit for supporters across USL for years to come.
All right. So, what are the next markers that you're looking at when it comes to the end of, obviously we're wrapping up the USL Championship season here in 2021, but as we're getting sprinting toward 2022, what are some of the next markers that you guys are looking to hit with announcements and such?
We're working with Trevor James, our head coach, assistant, our GM, on budgets, and so I'm sure it won't be long before signings start occurring. I think once we get through the holidays, we'll start rolling out jerseys, announcing key partners along those lines, and then one of the things that we built up over the years that we're looking forward to getting back to with COVID, hopefully behind us, is international friendlies, and so those have been kind of signature events. So yeah, we'd love to roll those out after the holidays as well. But first and foremost, our focus is on putting out a competitive team, in March, ready to go at it and make a name for ourselves in the USL Championship.
All right, time to cut the promo. For those that want to keep an eye on everything going on up there with Le Rouge, how do they do it?
We're on the internet and social media channels. So just I think Google us or Bing, whatever your preference is.
There you
Detroit
go.
City FC. Yeah, we're out there.
Well, Sean, thank you for letting us hop in, especially with the recency of the announcement and kind of giving everybody an education as to what went into it, where you guys are, your growth over the last decade. I myself am looking forward to seeing the DCFC X merchandise coming out. Let's have that X in there somewhere. But Sean, thanks for hanging out with us for a Soccer Down Here 1v1. We'll be keeping an eye. And obviously, as we are the home for Atlanta United too, and right here in the heart of the Southeastern footprint, we'll be keeping an eye on stuff with the USL Championship. Thanks for hanging out.
Of course. Appreciate it.